Welcome to Beefmaster Banner. We're your hosts, Josh Morrison and Jared Strickland. How's it going, Jared?
Oh, it's going good. Just kind of waiting on some warmer weather. It's kind of odd for the first part of May to be in the 40s at night and low 60s during the day.
Yeah, I feel like we're kind of into October, November weather here.
Yeah.
I'm looking for it's been cool here, and the wind has blown probably 30 plus today, so
Oh, yeah.
it was not fun.
Hard to get that grass to grow when it's doing that.
It is. Thankfully, we're done calving, other than maybe a one off here and there. But I'm looking forward to calving season now next in the fall.
It'll
But
get here quicker. Get
I
here
don't
quicker than you think.
I don't ever want to rush summer though, so I'll be happy if we can just get into the let's just stay in the 80s and maybe the 60s at night. I'll be happy.
And plenty of rain.
That's it. That's it. Let me we want to thank some sponsors before we get started. All of our sponsors, we really appreciate you. Lissy's Beefmasters, they have a sale coming up this fall. I believe it's this fall. They'll sell some really quality animals. We appreciate their support. Jones Beefmasters, Mr. Clark, we appreciate your support, and be on the lookout for their sale the last weekend of June. Um, Always a fun time and good food. The Beefmaster Educational Endowment Fund, Beef. We appreciate everything that they do in the breed, especially sponsoring our show. They do a lot of good things for this breed. MLS Tubs and Vitalix, we really appreciate your support. Be sure to check them out for any kind of mineral tubs or anything like that you need. They've got anything, especially with flies coming up, good fly control supplements. C&M Ranches, we appreciate your support to the Chick family, great family, and they've got good cattle, and you'll be seeing them in a lot of sales this year too. The Southeastern Beefmaster Breeders Association, be on the lookout for their sale coming up the weekend of August 26th. Come out and support it if you can. There will be really good education and futurity, and it'll just be a good time I had by all that weekend. And finally, Emmons Ranch Beefmasters. Everybody knows Emmons Ranch. Had a great bull sale here not long ago, and I believe, don't they, Jared? They have a female sale also this year, right?
Yeah, I have their production sale. And
Okay. Yep.
I think it's in August too. So
So be on the
wait,
lookout for it.
wait before the SEBA sale. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Just to add to the SEBA deal, SEBA's having a field day May the 12th and 13th at Mississippi State there in Starkville at their beef unit. Friday night, like at 6 to 8, they're having a crawfish boil. So definitely come out and get some crawfish, and then that next morning, that Saturday from 8 to about noon, there'll be all the educational seminars, and I think they got a lot of good stuff lined up. So make sure you come out and support that, and enjoy a good weekend learning about Beefmaster cattle and different things. So
Sounds like there's a weekend full of stuff there. Tonight we want to welcome Robert Scott back on the show. How you doing, Robert?
Good, good, good. How are you guys today?
Doing good. Doing good. Robert came on back last year. I don't remember how long ago it was, but it was hard to believe it's been probably almost a year since you have come on. So appreciate you coming back on. You reached out to us and wanted to talk some more, and it's always appreciated.
that's right.
But let's just get into it. I've got some different topics I'd like to talk with you on tonight, and one being the word performance, particularly in young cattle, at sales that all of us attend throughout the year. What is importance, or I'm sorry, what is performance to you?
Well, I mean, it includes a number of things, right? So, I feel that, cattle are always being tested in terms of, how they perform, whether that's how they breed up, right? Which would coincide with the calving interval. Obviously how they grow, the temperament, because there's degrees to everything, right? I mean, you have some cattle that, are real gentle. You have some that are reasonably gentle, and then you have others that are not gentle at all. And depending on what you like, I guess you want to select more for the things that you want, and less for the things that you don't want. So, in a nutshell, in my eyes, at different times, performance is a measurement of six essentials. As Tom Laster once stated, is when you get all those cattle in one contemporary group, you may have 10 of them that have the six essentials, but that doesn't make them equal because one of them is going to have more of the six essentials. So that's what performance means to me. As far as Red River is concerned, we're testing the things that we can. And Jared and I talked about this once before, and I think you were included on that conversation, Josh, is even the visual aspect of it is, to some extent, performance. Because when we get these things on tests and we develop them all in the same environment, and we grade them, we want to make that playing field as level as possible. The way things used to be done and still done now. But when you get into consignment sales, and there's nothing wrong with it, I have no problem with it. But when people are bringing, cattle from 15 or 20 different places, yeah, the good cattle rise to the top, but to some extent, the biggest cattle rise to the top. So you're not necessarily picking the best genetics. You might be picking the best management, to put it lightly.
Well, I agree with you there on that, on the performance thing. If I can chime in here for a second,
Yep.
On the test, I've always kind of had not an issue with feed tests or anything like that. I think it's necessary to see how the cattle do, because that way you can kind of compare them. But I also do worry sometimes if you do just a straight gain test, you can select for larger frame cattle, which then end results could be harder doing cattle on a rougher environment.
Jared, you're absolutely right. You absolutely can. But I think, we as breeders have to train our minds to look at the whole picture. You don't want to grab the paper and say, oh, this is the 150 ratio. This is what I want. Look at the frame on an animal. Look at the thickness on that animal. Make sure it's quality weight. But you're right. If you go in and you just look at the number, I would say you're probably going to put yourself in a tight spot.
Oh, I can agree with that. Because, like you said, or I always talking just a second ago, you got to look at the whole picture. Just going after the biggest gaining animal doesn't necessarily going to get you the right spot.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I'd agree with that. And Robert, you always say you don't mind being put on the spot. And so some of these questions that I'm going to ask you is kind of, we obviously have kind of a show order here, but I sometimes want to go off the script. And here's a question for you along the lines of the performance and the performance test. So all performance tests obviously have a starting point. If someone brings, let's just say I bring a more moderate framed type of heifer to Red River. Let's just use Red River since we're talking it. But I have to get her there earlier. She's obviously not, she may bloom and grow before the actual performance test really gets going. Where we're not really, I guess, where you're not really grading her quite yet. This is just speculation here, and you tell me if I'm wrong. But
say what you want to say.
You bring a bigger frame cow, she may take a little longer to really bloom once that test gets started. So I guess my question on that, after going around the world, is a smaller framed heifer versus a heavier framed heifer. How do you not, if you're just going by the numbers, how do you not penalize the smaller heifer that grew earlier, that maybe grew a lot before the actual test actually started?
Well, the simple answer is don't just go by the numbers. So, there's a visual component to this as well, right? And frame alone is not going to get it. So, believe it or not, now I don't know how moderate you're talking, but a moderate frame animal can and will outgrow a big frame animal. Now that depends on how long you take the test or how long the test goes for, right? Because you're right, over an extended period of time, you no longer selecting for, animals that have legitimate growth characteristics. You're selecting for ones that are going to have a larger mature size. But if you stay, I would say 90 days and less, I've seen a number of times where a moderate frame animal um, has outgrown a large frame animal because there's other components to it besides frame. So, like the thickness is one of them. I mean, if you ever look at a test and really study the characteristics that animals have that tend to put on weight, because when they grow, they don't just add skeleton, right? And the growth doesn't just go up in the air. Um, it's one that tends to have some capacity, some middle. It's one that tends to have some muscles, one that tends to have some stretch. Uh, you can have a fairly heavy animal, if you will, and it not be very tall, but it possess those other characteristics I just mentioned. So it's a lot more to it than just a frame.
There's a lot more meat in something that's wide than thin.
I've always said you want to grow them up. I'm sorry, you want to grow them out, not up, right?
Legs don't weigh a whole lot.
No, they don't. Mm-mm. So,
Well, just to kind of add to the just to finish up this test kind of deal. One thing I've noticed, and you get comments and stuff like that, on the good thing about the test when you're selling these heifers, I see. Obviously, I have cattle in the sale, so I'm maybe showing a little bit of bias here, but try not to show too much. With the test, they own test for a certain amount of time, and they're at a sufficient, where I would say, body condition to take them home. And everybody's got their different environment, but I like the test to show that the body condition score, or however you want to say it, is adequate for somebody to take them home and give them bread and do things like that. What's your take on that?
Yeah, no, I love that question. So, I agree with you. I think they're in perfect condition, particularly for a sale. But I never have understood where people say they sell cattle in the body condition a score of a 5 or even a 4. I never really see them in a 4, but we'll just say a 5, right? And they come out of that sale, and that's like, in their eyes, ideal condition. And maybe so. There's just one problem. These cattle are going to varying environments, particularly a heifer or a young bull, right? And like last year, we had a pretty, substantial drought. Well, you get them suckers home, before you know it, you've got a heifer that's a body condition score of a 4 or a 3.5, etc. So in the research I've done, a body condition score of a 7 is the ideal. And that's a little fleshy, but it's not so much that it hurts anything. But on the other hand, they've got some condition built up where if they go into a situation like we had last year, that drought, if you will, they can afford to lose a little bit of weight and still do their job. Because we all know that when an animal gets below that body condition score of a 5, I'm not saying they can't do their job, but it starts getting harder for them to do their job. And think about it like this: last year in the summer on into the fall, it was very dry. There's a lot of cattle around here that didn't have hardly anything to eat. So do you really want to go into the wintertime with a body condition score of, say, a 4?
No, not if it's a fall calving heifer or cow, because they ain't gonna breed back.
No, they're not going to breed back. And, one thing I've noticed over the years is people that tend to have a lot of calving problems. I'm not saying that the bull can't be the problem. I'm not saying that pelvic area can't be the problem, although we do pelvic measure all our heifers, and we have for the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, whatever it's been. But a lot of these cattle get thin enough that when they lay down and have a calf, I don't think they have the strength to have it. And then you see an increase in prolapses and things of that nature. Again, I'm not saying that, at times that's not genetic, but other times it's because they're malnourished. Now, a lot of the people that own these cattle don't want to recognize that, but the fact of the matter is, the ideal body condition of a heifer is going to be about a 7, and that's going to give her the opportunity to go to a number of places lose some of that, and still perform. Uh, to say that you want an animal at the sale and say like a 5 body condition score is just like saying that you like living paycheck to paycheck, because she doesn't have any room for error. And the same thing goes for a young bull. You catch a young bull that don't test the following spring after he's sold in the fall, and I guarantee you he didn't have nothing to eat more times than not.
Oh yeah, the condition is very important on performance as well.
Mm-hmm.
I guess kind of moving forward, talk a little bit more about the sale right quick. Y'all have a genetic partnership. Could you kind of explain to that for those that don't know?
Well, yeah, no, we talked about this last time, right? The
Yep.
discounted AI on them for you and everything else like that. Uh, what I would say to expand upon that is, you know, when we think of a partnership, the other component to that is us investing in you and helping to promote your program, giving you a platform, right? To get your name out there. So yeah, we want to build up Red River, but also just as an example, JCS or J2 Beef Masters or G&M Beef Masters, we want that name to coincide with that, because we want you to develop a market, not only at Red River, but at your house. We want you to establish a reputation, so that you can sell cattle at home, and do well in other sales also. So that's part of that. We do anything we can to help people. So consignors of ours bring cattle in and feed them for other sales, like Central States or whatever. Uh, we're just all about helping our people make money. It's really what it gets down to, and try to develop, a system where everybody wins. So the partnership goes beyond the semen. Again, it's helping where we need to, rolling up our sleeves and working together to make sure we uplift one another.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like how you put that. So, kind of going back, you mentioned AI for folks. This is another put you on the spot moment. So, um, you know, the current bulls. What are the current bulls that you're someone's able to AI to if they do buy a heifer?
Well, I mean, you can add anything you want to, right? If you can get the semen over to champion where I can get it picked up. But as far as the actual genetic partnership, so I would say the two top ones right now are El Bar and Fuego and 3112, and round that out with San Pedro 7121, which implemented last year. We're seeing tremendous results from. And then the next one would be El Bar Momentum. We've gotten some calves from, and he's doing a good job of putting some style and carcass in the cattle too. But I would say we sell the most semen on 3112 and El Bar and Fuego.
Okay, so this may cause some conversation when people listen, and that's okay. That's what we want. Do you foresee expanding that genetic partnership to say, in the future sometime, some black bulls, black polled bulls, or more BBU, I guess you'd call them more contemporary style bulls?
I don't know what the contemporary style piece means, but to answer your question, if somebody's wanting to buy it, I see us wanting to breed it. How's that? So, it don't matter if it's black, it don't matter, if it's, BBU, so to speak. Uh, if there's a demand for it, then we want to go out and we want to start producing it, so we can sell it. Now, it may not be something that I use personally, but I'm not the only one in the group, and people have the flexibility to do as they wish. We can make suggestions, but at the end of the day, it's their program.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I like that answer. I mean, at the end of the day, like you said, east of the Mississippi, that's predominantly what people are wanting in the market. West of the Mississippi, you're probably, like you said, you're probably getting into more reds, and things like that. And there's nothing wrong with either one of them, in my opinion. I like them both. I keep them both. I've got blacks and reds all in the pasture. I just felt like that was an important question just for people that are, maybe listened to you last year and want to listen again with with Red River coming up. And there are some black heifers, some really good black heifers in there, and there's some really good red heifers in there. So the cool thing about it is it's kind of, there's something for everybody.
Mm-hmm. No, it is, but I'll say this too. It's 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 got to be somewhat controlled independence. And here's what I'm saying. You've got to have the cattle somewhat similar, right?
Sure.
Because while we're talking about the heifer sale, we also have a bull sale, and people like to try to buy 5 bulls that are somewhat alike. And everybody strives to have the bigger averages, and everybody wants to sell cattle to the commercial cattle operator. But the truth of the matter is that's going to be hard to do with a mixed up bunch of bulls, right? And so they've got to be somewhat similar to the point where if a reasonably sized operator came in and wanted to buy 5 bulls or whatever, they could pick some that are similar in type and kind.
You hit the nail on the head right there. I mean, if you want to get to these bigger breeders or moderate sized breeders, they want to come get bulls that's going to make calves that look alike because they're going to sell them in uniform lot groups.
That's exactly right, Jerry. I've always said that, we kind of have to give them what they want, not necessarily what we want them to have, right? Because if they can't get what they want, say from Red River, they're just going to go somewhere else and get it. And you got a lot of guys and gals out there that are commercial operators. If they can't get it in Beefmasters, they will go get another breed of animal. Like, I've lived it. Not necessarily color, but years ago, I had a guy call me and he said, "Hey, you got 5 bulls?" I was like, "I do not. I got 2." And, I said, "Well, why don't you let me find you 3 more?" So I hop on the phone and I'm calling. And like the next day, he said, "Don't worry about it. I already bought 3 heifers. I'll just take the 2 Beefmasters that you got." At some point, bulls become bulls, right?
Yeah, and that's exactly what, and we all can agree on this. That's exactly what you don't want because, and you couldn't help it. I mean, it's all you had, but we always want to, and I think that's the great thing about these bull sales now is there are places for people outside the breed to come in and buy, whether it's anywhere, in the nation.
No, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Good point.
So kind of going along with the sales, genetic partnerships, performance, that kind of thing, you get into consignors and, what's ideal, what's not. Tell us what your ideal consignor is.
I would say someone that is aggressive, that, wants to be at the top year in and year out and is willing to do the things it takes to be at the top. And someone that understands that, a rising tide raises all boats. I think, just keeping things in perspective, it's important to get people with that mentality because take, for example, use the buy here, consign here, and other sales implemented as well. But let's say you buy, 1 bull. And when you bought that bull, you were an asset, right? You helped to sell, you did your part. We got something from it, you got something from it. A couple of years from now, you come back and you bring us 10 bulls. And you know what? We'd be glad to get them. However, you bring those 10 bulls and you don't have any, gumption about you to help promote the sale or talk to your neighbors, etc., and get orders, just doing all you can to make it work. Well, that's kind of a lopsided trade-off because we got to sell 1 bull and now we got to sell 10 bulls for you, which we don't mind doing. And God knows how long it's going to be before you buy another bull. So let's just say that's 4 years. That's 40 bulls to 1. All of a sudden, you're a liability. You know what I'm saying? And so what we're looking for are people that, see this as a mutually satisfying deal and, they're hoping to pour into the group, but also hoping that the group pours into them. That's kind of what we're looking for. Anybody that's ever been with us, whether their experience was good or not, I hope they took something from it that if it didn't help them at Red River, it helps them other places.
Well, I kind of like how you talk about that because I mean, I've always kind of stood the stance on if you're selling your cattle, it's kind of sales manager takes a lot of flack sometimes, but it's still you still got to try to sell your own cattle and do things like that.
Oh man, there's no question about that, Jared. I think that, it's easy to get dissatisfied with the sale. I understand that. But on the other hand, a person has to ask, you know, yeah, it may not have went, like I wanted it to go, but what did I do to make it go better? Did I share things on Facebook? Did I pick up the phone and call people that I know that have mentioned in the past, they would be interested in using the Beefmaster Bull? Did you get, an answer from that person that, what, they definitely don't want a bull, or did you answer for them? A lot of times, I've got several neighbors I've bought bulls for. I'll call them and say, hey, look, I know you talked about, trying to Beefmaster Bull. Give me an order for, $3,500. And I think I can get you a pretty good one to get you started. And I tell you what, man, I've sold a lot of bulls doing that. I have. And it's coming handy. It's coming handy. It's coming handy. You're not gonna get to sell if you don't ask. I guarantee it.
Absolutely.
Well, that's something they taught me in this, which I ain't doing it now. I used to sell seed and things like that, or corn seed and bean seed, stuff like that. And they always, when I took us them trainings, they always said, if you don't ask for their business, you will not get it.
You won't get it.
I can promise you won't.
That's right. That's Bobcat.
Yeah, selling bobcats for a living. I can guarantee you, I can promise you, if you don't ask for it and you don't go out and find it and get it, they're just not gonna buy it. I mean, why would they?
They'll get it from somewhere who else asked.
Yeah, yeah. And back to the ideal consignor part of it, I always kind of look at sale managers. I've got, know a lot of sale managers. They're great people, great guys, and they work really hard. And I give them props and give you props for doing what y'all do, because I don't know that I'd want to do it, just honestly. But I mean, I kind of look at them, and you tell me if you think I'm wrong. I kind of look at them as a head coach of like a NFL team. They're the easiest one to blame when things don't go right, when things go wrong. Instead of looking at, hey, maybe I should try a little harder, or maybe I should do something a little different.
Yeah, well, I think generally speaking, that's one way of looking at it. You do have some sales managers that let the people down, no doubt about it. And I think, even myself at times, there's things I could have done better. I acknowledge that. I recognize that. And, and I've tried to correct those things. So it's never perfect. I think it's just about, recognizing where you can get better, and you go and do that. But I'll say this, your effort should never be your problem. That should never be your problem, right?
No, I agree.
So, you can blame the market, you can blame whoever you want to blame. At the end of the day, the results are the same. Did you hit the target, or did you not hit the target? And if you didn't hit the target, what are you going to do moving forward to make sure you hit the target? We live in a world where everybody wants everything to go right. And that's just not how it works. It's just not. Sometimes you got to work through a little bit of adversity. You know, since I've been working, with investments and things of that nature, this really isn't a lot different than the stock market. You got to be tough, man. If you stay with it, I think it will pay off, and do the things necessary to improve, like we discussed. But some people, they just can't handle it, and it's a little bit tough for them. I think people get it in their head. Well, I got registered cattle that's going to make me successful, and take it a step further. Oh well, if I get involved with said group, I'm going to be successful. No, just because there are more bulls being sold don't mean there's any more seats at the table, because somebody might sell 10, 15, 20 bulls, and they may just be a better breeder than you. You know what I'm saying? And so what are you going to do to carve something out within that group? Like, what are you going to do, to make yourself valuable, and to make your cattle valuable? It's an ongoing thing. Back in the day, that's what I asked myself with my cows. When I first got my calf crop, no one came to buy them. And I was like, man, this sucks. So, like, nobody came. I thought people were going to come, because I had some pedigrees at the time that I was chasing. And Oh, and in my world, I guess they meant something. But anyway, no one came to buy them. And so I asked myself, all right, what can I do to, grow my own market? And what I started doing was, I learned how to feed my cows, and then I learned how to take pictures. And, I just kept studying. And then I would sit at the sale barn and stuff like that. And I would, sit up at the top and watch and see what brought the money. And I get the sales report and add it up, so on and so forth. And then next thing I know, I'm tailoring my cattle, to fit the commercial market in my area, right? And then, after that, I have people stopping off the road, can I buy bulls and this, that, and the other. And then my next Achilles heel, truth be told, was EPDs, right? So I had a limited market, which was more of a market than what I had before. But then to really increase the dollar amount on my animals, I started focusing on my EPDs and the quality. So I'm 7 years in, and I'm still not where I need to be. So it's an ongoing process. I'm sure you guys can relate.
Oh, you most definitely. Kind of reminds me of a famous quote from Jerry Thomas on this podcast: "Is how is your stress level? How much can you handle when you get started?" So if you can handle it, you move it.
That quote has stuck with me ever since he said it too. I mean, you go through calving season, breeding season, dealing with, are these cows open? Are they bred? Is this heifer gonna need help while I'm not there? Blah blah blah. I mean, it's a lot of that. That is one statement among many on this show that has really stuck with me ever since he said it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think he's got a fabulous point. And I also think that, you're always, when you get it lined out, it's like, dang, am I going to lose a lease? Is the drought coming? And, it's always the next thing. And maybe I worry a lot, but, those are things that you got to prepare for, right? Especially in the seed stock business, because above all else, what you need is stability.
Exactly.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. This has been a great episode, and I feel like we've hit some really good, really good subjects here. I appreciate you coming on. We're just about completely out of time. But hopefully, I want to have you on again sometime soon, and maybe even try for a roundtable type discussion. I know we've discussed it in the past, Jared and I have, and that would be something fun. And if you'd be willing to do that here in the near future, we may try that.
Yeah, we'll give it our best shot.
Yeah, that's something we've been thinking about doing, just kind of mixing it up. So you guys be watching them for that.
Yeah, that'd be good. But we are completely out of time tonight. Robert, thank you for coming on, giving us your insight on things. And we always try to be here for the newer person, plus maybe the people that have been here a long time and trying to find their way, or trying to change things up. Hopefully this helps, and I hope it continues to help, because I don't think we're going anywhere anytime soon.
All right. God bless you both. Talk to you soon.
Sounds great. We'll see you on the next episode. Thanks, guys. Well, we want to thank everybody for listening to the Beefmaster Banner podcast. Please know that we are on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and we are on YouTube. Just search Beefmaster Banner. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. We love hearing from you, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you.